From Brian Griffin being exposed as a pedophile to Peter becoming a cold-blooded murderer, it's hard to believe 7 of these characters were once among the most loved on Family Guy. But as they switched up on the audience and just kept getting worse, it completely changed the way fans see them. Starting with Joe Swanson. If you think of a true hero to zero story in Family Guy, it's gotta be Joe. When Joe first rolled onto the scene, yeah, no pun intended, fans loved him. And really, who wouldn't? He was a cop, a man of action, and despite being paraplegic, he never let his disability hold him back. Joe was strong, competent, respected, and treated his job seriously.
Just because you have a badge doesn't mean you can treat people any way you like. And as a law enforcement professional, you have an obligation to be more ethically upstanding than the average man, not less. Now get the hell out of my town.
Remember the early seasons? Joe had a happy family life with Bonnie and their son. Sure, things with Kevin were sometimes strained, but overall, Joe was shown as a hardworking man with dignity. He was the hero of the community and still funny enough to be part of plenty of storylines. He wasn't just the disabled guy, he was a full character, and that's why fans loved him. But fast forward to later seasons, and Joe became almost unrecognizable. Instead of being the confident, capable hero, he's now often portrayed as a loser.
There's nothing wrong with me. I'm no different than any other guy.
Joe, would you put on your hand shoes and take out the garbage? Thank you.
The show turns him into the butt of the joke, and not in the fun way that Family Guy usually balances its humor. His disability gets used as a punchline again and again, and instead of being an inspiration, he's shown as dependent on others, codependent even, and constantly the weak link of the group.
Oh no, I fell out of my wheelchair! Don't help me! I need to do this on my own! Oh, this is so humiliating. I'm about to be an adult man crying! I can't walk! Why the hell can't I walk? This isn't part of the act anymore!
It's not about being offended, it's just sad to watch. In the early days, the show got a lot of comedy out of Joe without turning him into a complete shell of himself. He had solid, funny, memorable episodes that still made him look tough and admirable. Like the time Peter opened a restaurant and didn't let Joe and his friends in because they were paralyzed, or when Joe caught the car wash thief and accidentally snapped the guy's spine.
I'm Joe, your waiter.
Those episodes showed his strengths, gave him good material, and proved he was more than just a background gag. He used to be a badass despite his challenges. Compare that to now, when even his own wife seems to hate him. Watching early episodes again, it's shocking to see that Bonnie was genuinely in love with Joe. She respected him, encouraged him, and even gave him pep talks when he doubted himself as a man. Today, Bonnie either insults him or flat out wishes he was dead.
Can you open the sliding door? I'll take it.
And if his wife isn't tearing him down, then his friends are. Peter, Quagmire, and Cleveland often physically abuse him, mock his situation, or make him feel worthless. To make things worse, they even changed his original backstory about how he got paralyzed. At first, he became paralyzed while heroically fighting crime on Christmas.
You think you have won. You think all is well. I shall see you in hell.
Later, they retconned it into a more pathetic version, stripping away the noble side of his story. Most fans agree the original backstory worked better because it kept Joe heroic. Even now, episodes like the Niagara Falls, where he rescued Peter and the gang from drowning, reminded us that Joe is still capable of being the man he once was. But these days, all Joe does is whine and accept that he's a loser. He cracks jokes mocking himself, gets played for laughs, and is shown as nothing more than a pathetic man with anger issues he can't work through. It's sad to see a hero fall that far. A man who once stood tall, even without standing at all, rolled all the way down to zero. And yes, this time that pun was absolutely intended. Another character that fans went from loving to full hating is Lois Griffin. Yes, there was a time when Lois was easy to love. In the earlier seasons, she felt like the glue holding the Griffin family together. She was calm, cool, and often the voice of reason. The one you felt sorry for when Peter was being harsh or reckless. Sure, she'd get frustrated. Who wouldn't when married to Peter? But she'd work through it and still show up as a caring mom and supportive wife.
I don't need it anymore, Lois. I quit the team.
Quit the team? But you can't quit jousting. The big meet is today and
I thought you were...
Did you just say big meat?
Oh, my God, I did. Oh, we almost missed that one.
I know, that was a close one.
But somewhere along the way, Lois flipped. The sensible, protective mom turned into someone manipulative, selfish, and honestly just hard to watch. Fans didn't just stop liking her, they started actively disliking her. The calm voice of reason became just as abusive and annoying as Peter, but without any of the humor to even make it bearable. Let's talk about a few examples. One time, Lois complained to her friends that Peter wasn't so great in a certain department, but in couples therapy, the therapist came up with a plan to try hypnosis. Peter gets hypnotized and basically checks out mentally, thinking he's chilling on a sunny beach eating vanilla ice cream. But in reality, Lois is, let's just say, taking advantage of the situation while Peter's brain is on vacation. But then, Lois went ahead to turn that into a straight up terrible and manipulative tactic. She used hypnosis to really improve their intimacy. That's a fancy way to put it.
Wow, that hypnosis works.
Well, I gotta get in the shower. You know, 'cause of that indivisible part.
I'm just gonna go ahead and save this song on my phone.
Problem? Saving the trigger sound on her phone did not mean that Peter couldn't hear it elsewhere. It was a sound from a celebrity gossip show, and so later they visit Lois's parents, and it turns out Lois's mom was also watching that exact show. Yeah, you can imagine how that went down. And this isn't the first time Lois used Peter for her own gain. Remember the piano competition? Turns out Peter is a musical genius when drunk. Who knew? Lois finds out and decides to keep him hammered so he'll play well and help her win a piano contest, all just to finally beat her rival Alexis Radcliffe.
Make sure your trills are clean and watch the legato in the fourth measure. Go!
Peter wins, but he also basically drinks away all his brain cells.
I'm the only brain cell left.
But hey, maybe we could forgive her if she was at least a good mom, right? Yeah, about that. Lois is just as bad, sometimes worse to the kids as Peter. One of the darkest moments, the time she nearly drowned Stewie. It started because she got hooked on Brian's painkillers. She was desperate for another pill, found one but dropped it in the toilet, and instead of letting it go, literally, she shoved Stewie down the toilet trying to reach it. Yeah, she almost drowned her own baby for a pill. Brian saved him, but still traumatizing much? Another time, Stewie was badly injured after a fall. Instead of rushing him to the hospital, Meg and Chris panicked and tried to hide it from their parents. When Peter found out, he decided to help them hide it from Lois. That part didn't surprise me at all. I mean, it's Peter we're talking about. But when Lois eventually learned about what happened, you'd think she'd step up, right? Nope, she immediately tried to get Peter to join her in framing somebody else for Stewie's injury.
Oh, no! He's unconscious! Peter, we have to cover this up.
Yeah, but what?
Let's put a hat on him to cover the wound, and then let's get some makeup and draw eyeballs on his eyelids and find a way to pin this on someone else.
She's never winning any Mother of the Year awards. And if you think Lois goes off on her family, you would have to hold that thought. There's the time she went full villain at her favorite coffee shop. She wanted to be customer of the week, but when she didn't get chosen, she literally poisoned an employee with allergies just to swoop in and save them to look like a hero. Just imagine the narcissism. Fans have come to see her as the mean-spirited, selfish, and downright dangerous person she is, and all the love she once got has turned into hate. Yeah, the hate can be that brutal. But let's look at a character who had zero moral compass, but was still very much enjoyable and entertaining, until the audience just couldn't stand him anymore. The creepy old man, Herbert the pervert. I know the first question is, was there ever a time fans actually liked Herbert? Well, yeah, believe it or not, there was a point when this whole thing being the creepy old man who clearly shouldn't be around kids was so outrageous that it was somehow funny. Family Guy got away with it because the delivery was clever, the timing was sharp, and the scenes didn't overstay their welcome. And so fans were kind of okay with it at the time. Even Stewie calls it out in Spies Reminiscent of Us, telling Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd about Herbert.
You see, the U.S. government believes that one of these sleeper agents is right here in Quahog.
Are there any local residents whom you've seen acting strangely?
Well, there's a pedophile up the street that nobody seems to be doing anything about.
And for a while, that was true. Herbert was this bizarre, uncomfortable, but hilarious running gag that made people laugh while admitting at the same time that it was dark.
Pedal faster! I can't go any faster!
Where you going, kids? Hey, I just want to talk to you. Why don't you come over to my place for a glass of wine and a couple of fruit pies, and then we can go in the back room and play crazy snakes.
Herbert did have some hilarious one-liners, and also showing up as Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars parody Blue Harvest was so absurd that you couldn't help but laugh.
Obi-Wan! Boy, you got here just in time.
But eventually, that's all he became, a single tired gag. Herbert was reduced to just being the creepy old man who wants Chris. That's it. There were no extra layers to his characters, just the same uncomfortable joke over and over. And once the shock factor wore off, fans realized there wasn't really anything endearing about him. But come to think of it, taking this long to realize that even raises a serious question mark for most of us. Like, what exactly was supposed to be endearing about a pedo in the first place? The things Family Guy makes you room for, huh? Anyway, that's me thinking out loud. So yeah, Herbert went from being an uncomfortable but entertaining side gag to one of the show's most hated recurring characters. The joke just aged out, and without anything fresh to keep him interesting, the only thing left was the creep factor, and we all just collectively said, okay, show, we get it, he's creepy, move on. But while it was kind of easy to switch up on Herbert, this next one was harder, mostly because fans had to accept he was never going back to what they once loved. And it was just disappointing to watch how terrible his character became. If a talking animal with martini breath popped into your head when I said that, then you guessed it. Brian Griffin. Back in seasons 1 to 3, Brian was seen as the voice of the reason. He was the one who called Peter out when he was acting way too stupid. At that time, Brian came across as smart, sarcastic, and someone with integrity. People liked him because even though he was a talking dog, he felt more grounded than most other characters.
Okay, insert rod support A into slot B.
That's what...
If you say that's what she said one more time, I'm gonna pop you.
But as the show went on, Brian's personality changed. Instead of being thoughtful, he started to act like he was smarter than everyone else. He became a pretentious know-it-all, trying to look deep and intellectual, but always coming off fake.
Why's Limbaugh coming here? Don't they have bookstores at the Nazi fascist fat camp where he is a counselor?
I tell you what, Brian, if you want, we'll give you another crack at that.
On top of that, Brian turned into a womanizer. He lied to women, acted like he cared more than he did, and kept chasing people he had no business chasing, especially Lois.
Meow. Purr. Purr. I think you're dreaming.
No, I'm not.
It's sad because Brian used to be written with some honor. A good example comes from season 4 when he went back to college. He refused to cheat on the final exam, and even though he failed, he was proud that he at least tried.
Well, how'd you do?
I failed.
You failed?
Yep.
Well, and what the hell are you smiling for?
Because I took it all the way. I didn't give up on myself. And I didn't cheat.
But instead of supporting him, his own family mocked him. That was a turning point where people saw Brian stand for something only to be shot down for it. From there, his character dropped further and further. What was once a witty, sarcastic dog became selfish and hard to like. Over time, Brian just became unbearable and heavily disliked, especially for his hypocrisy. But the thing that made it worse was that whenever he had the chance to do the right thing, he never did. He always doubled down on the worst choice. Look at when he dated the blind girl. He had all the opportunity in the world to just be honest with her. Instead, he lied and even went ahead to take pictures of her without her consent.
Why don't you tell me how these look?
They look pretty damn great.
Then why don't you tell me how they feel?
Next time. Some things are worth waiting for.
Wow, you're really a true gentleman.
Yep. Not too many of us left.
That's not just wrong, it was creepy. Or when he got a job as a helpline operator. He tried to hit on his colleague, and when she politely turned him down, he didn't let it go. He crossed the line with her pictures.
You know what, Brian? I will. Oh my god!
And then, when she surprisingly gave him another chance, Brian completely ruined it. Instead of owning up, he planted drugs in her locker and got her arrested. That is the point where fans lost all respect for him, and he just kept getting worse. He got so bad that one time he secretly used Stewie's time machine to impress girls and hook up with them. But then it turned out one of the girls he picked was not yet of legal age.
Look, it's no big deal. Just reverse it and take off the miles. That's what I do when I take my dad's car out.
Are you 16?
I will be next September.
There is no redemption for him at this point. But while Brian Griffin's hate is well deserved, this next one is a character fans once rooted for but later turned on. Not because she did anything wrong, but because she practically did nothing. And that is Meg Griffin. Meg used to just be the awkward teenager of the Griffin family. The one who couldn't catch a break, but still felt like an actual person. She had normal teen problems, wanting to fit in, crushing on boys, getting embarrassed by her parents. She wasn't exciting, but she was relatable. It even worked because Meg was always looking for the best in people, despite the treatment she got. Like the time she tried to be friends with the popular kids. Even after they had publicly humiliated her, Meg wasn't willing to support her mother's plan for retaliation. She still wanted to treat them with kindness.
Here, put this in the heating grate and set it off in 5 minutes.
I changed my mind. I'm not doing it. These people are my friends now.
After they pelted you with meat? Did you forget how the neighbor kids chased after you and tried to sprinkle you with fixins?
Yes, I did.
But then, Meg as a character just settled into being a walking target. She was flat out hated by everyone around her. Every interaction with her family now is just abuse. Peter openly calls her disgusting. Stewie's jabs are pure savagery. Even Lois, who's supposed to be the mom, takes shots at her own kid for sport, and everyone in the show just seizes any opportunity to dunk on her. At first, the audience watched and hoped she would get her chance to defend herself, but that never came. Every single scene with her became just bullying. It stopped being funny and started feeling lazy. You can only watch the Meg is gross joke so many times before it's just sad.
Lois?
Oh my gosh.
Help me.
And to make it worse, the show rarely lets Meg win or grow. Other characters have big, wild arcs. Stewie gets time machines and Road 2 stories, Brian writes novels, and Peter's been everything from a fisherman to a superhero. Meg? She's either sobbing, getting humiliated, or suffering some weird new trauma. There's no payoff, no moment where she gets an actual win, and so it just becomes tiring. Remember the episode where she finally snaps and tells her family how horrible they've been? She lets loose, and for a second every fan was like, yes, Meg, drag them! But then she goes right back to accepting her role as the punching bag. It's annoying to watch. Like, do you not know that you can actually stand up for yourself? And let's talk about how desperate she is for attention. Meg will sell out anyone or anything just to get noticed for 5 seconds. One day she's betraying her family's secrets, the next she's throwing herself at any guy who just blinks in her direction. The way she latches on to just anybody who showers her with the slightest affection is just cringeworthy. Imagine Meg growing a crush on Brian all of a sudden because he took her to a party and they shared a drunken kiss. And suddenly she believed Brian was the dog. Sorry, man, for her? She went as far as kidnapping him and being ready to essaying poor Brian, if not for Joe and the guys showing up on the scene to stop her.
We're gonna have fun tonight. Good, old-fashioned, all-American fun.
This is how Meg's character ended up being hated. She had people willing to care once, but over the years, she's turned pity into frustration. She's clingy, petty, desperate, and somehow proud of never changing. Fans didn't just randomly hate her, she made it easy. At some point, the joke stopped being poor Meg, and now it's, Meg. But we move on from Meg to someone who has everybody completely against them, despite the show being about him. Peter Griffin. At first, you just had to love a man like Peter. He was the best part of the show. I mean, why wouldn't he be when he's the family guy? He was an alcoholic, downright dumb, and always getting into the most ridiculous situations ever. In fact, he was just stupid. Plain and simple. He'll do the craziest thing ever and be totally shocked at the outcome because he didn't think it would turn out that way. But that was what made him fun. The fact that he wasn't even thinking in the first place and just said or did whatever came to his mind in that moment.
Hey, don't try to take this away from me. This is the only thing I've ever been good at. Well, this and timing my farts to a thunderstorm.
Why don't we all go ahead and turn to page 6 in the handout? The first thing you're going to notice, international sales, which peaked, of course, during the last...
But what fans loved the most was the fact that Peter had a heart and he cared for his family. So that meant that at the end of his crazy shenanigans, he learned his lesson and tried to make up for his mistakes. Yeah, there was once a Peter that was like that.
The point is, he's a member of our family first and a dog second. And I'm real sorry I forgot that, buddy. Sometimes we all need a second chance. Sometimes we all need to forgive.
Well, that Peter no longer exists. He doesn't just mess up anymore, he's plain evil and cruel. Instead of goofy accidents, now he's reckless on purpose. He hurts people for laughs, and doesn't care who gets caught in the crossfire, whether it's friends, strangers, even his own kids.
Peter, could you please pass the potatoes?
Ah! Damn it, Meg!
Worse, Peter rarely learns anything anymore. He doesn't apologize or make it right, he just moves on to the next disaster like nothing happened. All the charm of a lovable idiot who tries to do better has disappeared, and so there's nothing in his character for fans to love or root for. And honestly, the things he gets away with are insane. The list is crazy. He's blown up a bridge and a children's hospital, is borderline racist, beats up children regularly, is unnecessarily mean and vile to others, and has brutally injured and murdered a bunch of people just because he can.
Oh my God!
I mean, the damage to Quahog that his fights with Ernie the chicken have caused is not something to overlook. For fans, they don't feel so lucky anymore that there's a family guy. He's straight up hated. In the sane world, Peter wouldn't even be walking around free. But if we want to talk about someone who should definitely not be walking free in any universe, yet somehow stayed a fan favorite until everything changed, it's...
Who else but Quagmire? He's Quagmire, Quagmire.
Now, I know I said Quagmire was a fan favorite until everything changed. You'd think that means he turned worse, but no, it's the opposite. He started out bad, really bad. Then he toned down, tried to be better, and somehow that's when the hate rolled in. This is one of the rare Family Guy characters who got backlash for cleaning up his act, but it's more complicated than just people hate good Quagmire. Once you see what they turn him into, you'll get why fans jumped ship. Quagmire started out as a full-blown menace, and that was the point. He was originally awful in every way deviantly possible. Dear Diary, jackpot.
Dear Diary, jackpot.
That's who Quagmire was. He'd pop up on your screen up to some raunchy scheme and throwing around dirty jokes, so filthy you almost wanted to wash your TV. Quagmire would practically hit on anything, and we even came to realize it because he saw everything as a sexual object.
Don't worry about a thing, Quagmire. Your pals are gonna help you change your ways.
I don't know, Peter. I'm not sure I can do this. Meg, get out of the way!
Except Meg, it seems. There was no boundary to his wildness. Even if you were his friend, there's the time he pulled some crazy Spider-Man stunt while creepily stalking Lois. And he even went as far as going down with Cleveland's wife, Loretta.
What was that? Shut up and put some more of that sugar in my bowl.
His outrageousness worked because it was consistent and ridiculous. You weren't supposed to admire him, you were supposed to laugh and say, wow, this guy is insane. Fans enjoyed him for it. Man, he had his own catchphrase, giggity, and even his very own theme song.
My name is Glenn Quagmire, and I say giggity.
Then the show tried to reform him, make him better, and somewhere along the line he stopped being fun. After the Brenda Q storyline, where Quagmire finds out his sister is being abused by her boyfriend Jeff, and he goes dark and ends up killing Jeff to protect Brenda, his character started shifting. The show started treating him like a man with trauma and moral weight. From there, the rewiring kept going. Quagmire got backstory, a messed up childhood with a promiscuous mother, and they even had him explain that he had his heart broken by his first love, Cheryl Teagues, and it's the reason he also became a womanizer. And then he later fell in love with Peter's maid and got married, ready to fully settle down. Quagmire? That was nothing his personality was ever supposed to consider. The things fans hated was that Quagmire didn't need all that explaining and backstory or lots of psychological reasons for why he turned into the walking red flag we met early on. It seemed like the show was trying to redeem him or create sympathy for why he was the way he is. But here's the problem, fans didn't sign up for a redemption arc. Quagmire's entire appeal was being the shameless, unpredictable deviant. When the show tried to sand off the rough edges and present a tamer version of him with his background story and childhood trauma, it killed the fun. Worse, the moralizing felt forced. The show gave long, serious reasons for the past, his mom, his trauma, as if that would excuse everything and let him be redeemed. But audiences never needed him to be fixed. They liked him as the unhinged neighbor who, even if you knew he was going to pull off the most diabolical and inappropriate move, you still couldn't predict just how bad it was going to be.
Let us forever remember this beautiful young woman, taken from us in the bloom of youth, yet as unspoiled as when she was born.
Trying to make him go from that to being normal just left him hollow, and the changes felt messy. Instead of a clear, clever arc where he learns and grows, he just got slowly declawed. In one episode, he's terrified of accidentally dating underage girls, the same guy who was sent to scar some high school kids who had bullied Meg.
Hey there, sweetie. How old are you?
16.
18. You're first.
Mom!
I like where this is going.
We went from that to a Quagmire who is opening a cat cafe. A cat cafe. Then they had him meet Sonia, who was way more freaky and deviant than him. Quagmire's Quagmire. But the point of Quagmire was that there was no limit to him, and nothing else could match how twisted he was.
Come on, Sonia, how about we take a night off, huh? The sex has just been nonstop. I mean, I understand that no doesn't mean no, but certainly some word has got to mean no.
This is one of your fantasies, right?
But if meeting Sonia wasn't bad enough, Quagmire ended up dating a librarian named Elle, and she cheated on him because he couldn't please her in bed.
And I even bought season tickets for the Orioles, since that's what guys who can't satisfy women do.
Quagmire? The same Quagmire we know? But I'll say, where it got unbearable was the scene where Quagmire called out Brian for being hypocritical. It was a clear case of the pot calling the kettle black. Because, hello, Quagmire, have you looked in a mirror?
Well, who the hell are you to talk down to anyone? You failed college twice, which isn't nearly as bad as your failure as a father. How's that son of yours you never see?
Quagmire, you've got an entire classroom full with kids that are yours, but you've never showed up for.
Because you look a lot more like that child over there.
Daddy?
Oh, God!
Daddy?
Oh, God!
Papa?
Oh, God!
Quagmire didn't become hated because people want him to be a predator. They hated the neutered version that's neither fully wild nor truly redeemed. Now, if you want to see characters that fans actually love, check out this next video.